At 7 years of age, Daniel Mayo wrote to Dan Gable following his 1972 Olympic gold medal performance. In the letter, he told Gable he wanted to be an Olympic wrestler just like him. It was apparent at that early age, Mayo had his sights set on one thing: to be the best wrestler in the world. His journey would begin as a fifth grader, attending high school wrestling practice at Sachem High School with his older brother Joey, who was a member of the class of '77 wrestling team. Eventually, Mayo would realize how fortunate he was to have been around one of the nation's best coaches in Jack Mahoney at such a young age. This positive experience as a kid paved the way as Dan Mayo would become one of the nation's most accomplished wrestlers in both folk style and freestyle. Dan graduated from Sachem High School in 1983 and was later inducted into Sachem High School's Athletic Hall of Fame. Dan finished his storied high school career as a New York State champion and was awarded the prestigious Champion of Champions title. In addition, Dan was a three-time New York State freestyle champion, a three-time New York State Greco-Roman champion, a first-team All-American, and the 1983 Junior National Champion. Upon graduation from Sachem, Dan was fortunate enough to become a Nittany Lion for Rich Lorenzo at the Pennsylvania State University. During his time at Penn State, Mayo would become a two-time Division I All-American. He had a third-place finish in the 1987 Division I Championships, and his 1987 team would become the nation's #1 dual meet team. Mayo returned as the 1988 team captain and earned a trip to the 1988 NCAA Championship Finals. As a result of his tremendous career at Penn State, Dan was inducted into the prestigious Eastern Wrestling Hall of Fame as a three-time conference champion, only losing one conference match in his career, which was by medical forfeit. Following graduation, Dan returned to Penn State as a graduate assistant, which allowed him the opportunity to begin competing on the senior level as a member of the New York Athletic Club. The NYAC afforded Mayo the opportunity to compete in major international events, where he made his mark by beating many world medalists and NCAA champions. Following an introduction from Olympic gold medalist Dave Schultz, who was competing for Foxcatcher, Dan became a member of Foxcatcher from 1990 to 1996. During this time, he earned a spot on Team USA in 1992 and 1994 at 90 kilograms. Defeating world champion Chris Campbell at the 1991 U.S. Open was an accomplishment not many have ever achieved. Dan Mayo beat the best wrestler in the world. While he achieved many personal accomplishments throughout his wrestling career, it was working with legendary coach Gary Taylor at Rider University that gave him great satisfaction by allowing him to instill his knowledge onto younger wrestlers, and along the way helping them capture 5 conference titles in 6 seasons. Of all Dan Mayo's outstanding accomplishments throughout the sport of wrestling, it was his passion and drive to be the best in the world that stood out even more than his tremendous athletic ability. He has given his heart and soul to the sport of wrestling, and all those he has touched are better off for it. It is our honor and privilege to welcome Daniel Mayo into the Downstate chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame for his lifetime commitment to the sport of wrestling.